What's up, guys? So today we're talking ACT English grammar rules. I know grammar is everyone's favorite thing, so let's get right into it right away. I'm going to try to knock this out in 5 minutes, make this short and sweet so you get all the things you need to know about ACT English grammar as fast as possible. So the thing is, let's get started with incomplete sentences versus complete sentences. A complete sentence has two things, a subject and an action. So a subject could be a person, a thing, action could be a verb, or stating that something is like an adjective or whatever, right? Okay. And then an incomplete sentence obviously just has one of the two. So here are some examples of complete sentences. The girl is the subject and walked is the action. Car is subject and was is the action. It's not actually loud. Loud is just a adjective basically, but was is a verb. It's to be, but past tense. And then this is another like complex, longer complete sentence. So here are some typical examples of incomplete sentences or incomplete sentence types you'll run into on the ACT English exam. Because the weather was that hot. Okay, what about the weather being that hot? Why was the weather that hot? So you're kind of, this is half of an idea. You need to have something before this or something after it in order for it to be complete. Same thing with this. Even though the car was so bright and colorful, do you see how that's kind of incomplete? You need to say, even though the car was so bright and colorful, it wasn't enjoyable to ride. Or if you have something before it, you could say, I didn't like riding in the car, even though the car was so bright and colorful. Same thing with the last one. Although they felt they had won, everyone on the team was so demoralized. That's something you could put after. Same thing goes with something before. So these are typical examples of clauses that are very long. They have a subject and an action. They have all these things. But because of these words in the beginning, even though, although, because, this is an introductory statement like what I'm talking about here, and they must be followed by another clause to complete the sentence or idea. I'll let you guys pause the video and take a look at what exactly that means. But in essence, because these words at the beginning, you need to have something else after or before to complete the sentence. All right, I took 2 minutes on that, so we're kind of screwed on the rest of these, but let's try to get through them quickly. Run-on sentences. This is basically when you take two sentences and try to put them together. Look through these examples, you can see what's wrong with them. Many people like baseball as a sport in the US. This is one sentence right here, and then this is another sentence right here. They're kind of like borrowing the word baseball and trying to put it in two different sentences, but that doesn't really work. Same thing that's kind of happening here. There's just two sentences that are being mashed together. So you can't do that. You have to have something in between. Like you end the sentence here and you put like a period or you put an and or something like that. So that's why run-on sentences are bad. Parallelism is very simple. So you're keeping a similar structure with clauses so that a sentence flows or sound better. So in essence, basically when you're giving a list, this is a typical parallelism example. Notice how we're using ing verbs again and again. Now you can't, if you're using like two of them at the beginning, you can't break the pattern for the last two. That's kind of what's happening here. Kept smiling, waving, were laughing, and talked. There's two things wrong with this right here. First, they're adding a were. You don't need to add the were if you don't add a were for these, because the kept kind of distributes to all the verbs, right? So you don't need to do that. And the second thing that's wrong here is they're putting an ed verb, which, like I already said, you have to use ing verbs for all of them or use ed verbs for all of them. So they're breaking the pattern. They're using ing, they're using ing, they're using ing, and then they use an ed verb at the end. Technically, that's not right. You can't do that, especially on the ACT English exam. So keep that in mind. Keep things consistent. If you use ing verbs, keep using ing verbs. If they're using ing verbs with a word before the verb, then do the same thing. Or if they're using ed verbs, do the same thing. Keep it consistent. That's important, and keep it simple. Last thing is misplaced modifiers. What the heck is a misplaced modifier? Basically, it's where you put your adjectives in a sentence. So good placement. The elementary school's angry teachers scolded the students. Right? Makes sense. Or you could say the elementary school's teachers angrily scolded the students. But if you put something like this, if you put angry before elementary school, then it makes it seem as if the elementary school itself is angry, because you're putting this right here. This is a modifier. It's an adjective. You want to put it as close as possible to the actual thing that it's modifying. But right here, we put it as close as possible to the elementary school. That kind of twists the meaning a little bit. We don't really know what's going on. So that's a case of something that does not work. Same thing with this one. I mean, this is obviously wrong. This angry is supposed to be with teachers. Obviously, the students are not going to be angry if they're being scolded, but again, that's wrong. This is also wrong. And I mean, these two are technically right, but they're still a bit confusing because they don't get the idea across as to who is angrily doing it right away. This is a better way to do it up here. That's why those are right. So that's 5 minutes. We've gone through those skills that we wanted to touch on. And now I will say, if you want to practice these skills, if you want to get better and better at them, get practice problems specifically devoted to these skills and many other very, very common ACT English skills, and I recommend you check out the problem sets that we have for each skill on the ACT that are linked below. You can get started with them for free for any section, for all sections actually if you want. You can take a diagnostic quiz to see which skills that you need to improve on. I recommend you check that out. You can get started for free, like I said. The second thing you could do is to check out the free practice exams that are linked below. Students have been using them, improving a lot as well. They're official practice exams made by the ACT from past actual ACT exams. So I recommend you check that out as well. Those two resources combined can really, really expedite your improvement and how much you understand these skills and the content of the ACT. So I'll leave it with that. I hope this video was helpful, and good luck practicing and succeeding on the ACT.